Deze is hartstikke awesome Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Dawes. What's up, guys? What's up, insiders? Hope everyone's doing great. I am having a great, it is spring break here, so I'm having a good time. Just things being a little different, you know.
I feel like it's a little late for spring break.
It's the week after Easter, so that's how we always do it.
How late does school usually go in your area?
Now it ends around, it's pretty much done by the first week of June. I think graduations are usually the first week of June, but actually most people are done at school now. Like
first week of June.
They may be done like the Tuesday or Wednesday after like Memorial Day now. A lot of times.
That seems normal to me.
Yeah.
So like the way I grew up in the Twin Cities, Minnesota area, it was the day after Labor Day was the first day of school. It's typically like the first.
You mean first day of summer?
No. The day after Labor Day.
Oh, Labor Day. Yeah, I got you.
Day after Labor Day was the first day of school.
Yeah.
And then like the first couple days in June, right? Like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that.
It's like the last day of school. My birthday is June 12th. One time in my life was that I ever had my birthday in school. And that was because we had a stupid amount of snow days, like more than a human should ever have to endure. Right. And that was the last day of school was my birthday. And it was on the 12th. Dude, out here, like, I think it's usually like the 13th or 14th, something, 15th of May is the last day of school.
Wow. That's
but
crazy.
Then we're starting school like around that time in August, like the 13th, 14th, 15th of August.
Jeez.
It doesn't make any sense, right? We're like,
so we start
like 2 weeks.
Why don't we just early? We start that early here. We start the 13th or 14th of August here. Yeah, and then
you don't have snow days.
Not really. I mean, they have them set. Yeah, sometimes we have them. But we haven't had any this year.
You got them. They're there on reserve. Just in case a tsunami hits in the middle of Virginia.
Well, no, I mean, listen, if there's any little bit of ice, we won't go to school. So it's just kind of the way it is.
You know what? I'm cool. I always think,
I
literally think back. Some days I'm like, can I just be sick today? Let me just be sick today. And I just think about now in the stage of life, how much worse that would be if I actually was. Because now, career-wise, I have the autonomy to where I could be like, listen, customers, it's not happening today, and whatever needs to be said, it needs to be said. But like today, like the babysitter was here with the 2 boys.
Yeah.
And then Lindsay was doing work from home, and while Louisa was at school. If I was like sick at home with all of that, that would be way worse. Like if I was sick, I'd be like, peace, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
I'll go deal with this.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm sitting around this crazy mess. Right.
That's what you should. Yeah, that's what you should do. Just like, if I'm sick, I'm gonna go to a hotel.
It's just weird things that you think about doing when you hit different stages of life. This is a really freaking weird one, right? Because I'm always tired in this stage of life. There's no morning that doesn't start before 6 a.m. Okay. Mm-hmm. Not totally uncommon from, people with families or, busy careers. That's not crazy. But I also do not have a night that ends before 1 a.m. Right.
Jeez.
So I'm usually working through till like 1:30, sometimes 2:30, and it's just a ton of freaking work, right? Like I said before, never would have thought there'd be 3 businesses that I'd have to juggle, and it
Right.
just who would have freaking thought this, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's not even like worth all the crazy profit. It's really not even all that much sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's just a ton of freaking work. But anyway, I was joked. This is a real joke, but being serious, it's a joke. But if she took me up on it, it'd be like awesome. I said, Lindsay, why don't we set a date night? And she's like, I'm too tired, and I'm like, this is perfect. Find a sitter, and we go to a movie. She goes, I'd never make it through the movie. I go, that's the point. Think about this. Somewhere where you can go, and now you can go to the nice movie theaters where they got the big ones with the blankets, and you can
Yep.
order a little something, and then just take a 2-hour nap.
Right.
Think about that. We don't even need to sit next to each other.
That's good. So I did that
It's
once.
not a
Right?
horrible idea.
I did that once during the so when we came back from, and I was like 17, we came back from the CJB cruise, right? And we had all this time before our flight took off because we're in Miami and just waiting. And we're like, all right, what are we gonna do? And I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And they're like, oh, let's go see a movie. Let's go see. It was one of the Jurassic Parks, right? This was like 2001. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to see any of that. I'm not into any of that. Good. This will be great. This will be a great time for me to fall asleep. And so I slept through like Jurassic Park, which is like
The
kind of a
loudest
very
movie ever.
one of the loudest movies ever. And fell asleep, woke up through a little bit, and went back, kept falling asleep. And you know what I blame that on though now? It's like that moment actually made it to where sometimes during big epic movies that like
You're
I really
trained
wanted
go
to
sleep
see,
now.
I'm like I'll fall asleep just because I'm so tired. Like especially if you want to. There were several times where I would try to go to the opening night of certain movies, like Batman or something like that. But I would finish karate 8, 9 o'clock, go to the thing and go until like 12:30 or 1, and I'd fall asleep and wake up.
Do you
And
really
I'd only
do
miss
mid-
like
wait,
15 minutes of the movie.
I have to hear. Because I did a midnight like premiere 2 times in life. I will never forget 2 things. I will never forget these movies, these moments. I will also never do it again.
Yeah.
But I just can't believe after these two movies I did it, and I'm like, this is stupid. Never again.
Yeah, I don't do it anymore. Well, especially now, I'm getting too old. Like I can't do that.
Okay, so what was it? The original. Remember the Pirates of the Caribbean, like the original movie?
Yeah.
I actually think that was like the best one, the original one. So then there was the second one. And it was the first one was so good that they had like this massive build up for the second movie. Like everybody had to go see it.
Right.
And I remember this is one time in life when I was actually really sick. Like, because, what you do is karate instructors. You're around people all the time. You don't really get sick. When was the last time you were actually sick?
Like real sick?
Like
Yeah.
real sick.
Like I was sick Monday and I had really bad headache.
No. I
and
mean, like
congestion, really bad. But
can't
like
go to work.
can't go to work. Yeah, I don't know.
Because there's sick and then
I
there's
always go to work.
actual real adult can't go to work.
Yeah.
Like can't even think of it, right? Okay. So I
Yeah.
had that moment in my life. At this point, I'm like 22, but
Yeah.
I'm laid out like for a week. Like I'm like, I need to go to hospital type of thing. Whatever.
Right.
So all I did for that week was watch Pirates of the Caribbean. So when Pirates of the Caribbean 2 came out, we're like, all right, let's go. And it was the dumbest freaking movie because you don't know what the hell's going on. It literally ends with to be continued. I'm like, this is the stupidest waste of time. And the other time was when we went to see the third Lord of the Rings movie. It was like 3 hours and 45 minutes long.
Yeah, I want to
I
see
think
that.
it was actually 3 hours and 45 minutes long too.
It was really long. Yeah.
And I didn't understand the culture of these midnight premiere showings that people
Dress
get
up.
into it.
Oh yeah.
And people get into it like in costume.
Yep.
Now, where I was living at the time is in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. Okay. Now, Brooklyn Center, Minnesota is just north of North Minneapolis. Like it is literally North Minneapolis. You cross Broadway, you're in Brooklyn Center. So North Minneapolis is the hood, right?
All right.
Hood, right? Big time. So I'm like in the suburb north of that. So here I am, and guys are dressing up like Gandalf. They're dressing up like Gimli. I'm like, you guys are dressing up. And I remember turning to my buddy. I'm like, look, because there's Gandalf, the white Gandalf the Grey. I'm like, look,
Yeah.
it's Gandalf the Ghetto right over there.
Oh, stop.
It's
Wow.
just so freaking weird. And the movie was so dumb. And I'm like you were thinking, like probably like you were, like so conditioned to be asleep at this time because it's like 3:45 in the morning.
Right.
And you're like this, one eye's closed, the other eye's, you're struggling to pull it open. And at the end of that movie, you're just watching hobbits jump on the bed in the gayest way possible, right?
Stop.
And you're like, what am I doing for like the last 40 minutes? Like nothing is happening. Like there's not even any dialogue. Like what are we doing? So never again will I ever do a midnight movie.
We've already got canceled twice. All right, cool. Anyways, so
Ain't that bad.
Oh man. So anyway, let's get into I guess we'll get into some martial arts talk eventually. But
Yeah.
that was fun. Anyways, but yeah, I mean those are the things you do during either spring break or just fun. I don't even know how we got into movies, but yeah.
That's my fault.
Yeah, that's all good. I still need. That's what I want to do this week was watch. Go to the John Wick movie though, so I hadn't seen that yet.
That does seem cool. You know what I did though? Speaking of movies, because it was a buddy of mine who was talking about like, hey man, on Friday, which is Good Friday,
Yeah.
hey, I'm taking my kids to go see the Mario Brothers movie.
Right.
And I'm like, Mario Brothers has a movie? I don't know any movies that happen, right? So he's like, yeah. So I go. It's actually pretty cool.
I know.
They make a fair amount of references to other Nintendo games.
Okay.
And
That's
they make
cool.
like at one point, I'm not spoiling anything, but at one point you're seeing a picture of like Mario. Like he starts his plumbing business with Luigi.
Yeah.
And you see him, he's on the phone, and behind him, there's a picture of like Glass Joe, and Punch Out when he's doing a little thing.
Yeah.
And like it's on a framed picture on the wall. And I'm like, wait, what? And then on the other side of him, there's like a picture of the duck from Duck Hunt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's actually pretty cool.
That's
and then
cool.
my kids, they're not going to know. They don't even know what they're looking at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I love it. I
it's
love
pretty
it. That's
cool.
cool. That's cool. Yeah, my brother took his son and actually I guess both kids to see that yesterday. So they were all pumped up about it, man. I know when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, oh, this is cool. This looks awesome. So definitely sweet. All right, let's see. Again, if you don't know, we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour, and we've had a lot of big time events with the Virtual Fight Tour this year, last year, in the past 2-3 years. It's been kind of crazy.
Yep.
But big ups to Jesse Ray. Go check out virtualfighttour.com and get some swag, get some gear from them. Also, go and check out our shop, MAInetwork.shop, where you can get all of the t-shirts. We got the CTE shirt right now that I have on. We got our
Fist Kicks and Flicks.
We got our Shut Up Alex shirt. We got our Jeffopedia shirt. We got the B shirt. We have, I think those are all of them right now.
What's your favorite looking of all the shirts that we got? What's your favorite looking shirt?
So the one that I probably wear the most, well, I guess a lot of it is like, honestly, I like the logos of all of them. I just don't always like the colors of all of them. So like but on the shop, you can choose the different colors. So
that's so cool.
So really, I'm probably going to go order myself a couple of different colors of Jeffopedia. Because honestly, I like my shirt, how it looks, but I don't like wearing white shirts. So
why?
I just don't, dude, I just feel like
summertime's coming.
Yeah, no, dude. You have
dogs. Want white shirts in summertime?
Dogs will get dogs are bad with black shirts and white shirts. Yeah.
You make it sound like you're rolling around in the dog's crap or something. It's just a
No,
t-shirt.
it's just, dude, they'll jump on you and everything, get all over
What
the
kind of
place.
dog
Yeah.
are you talking?
It's like a mutt, like a
Big
lab
dog?
/ pit bull, like
What?
yeah, a lab mix. I mean, so you know what
A
a lab
lab
mix.
mixed with a
You
pit
know
bull?
what a lab mix means, right? Anytime you
It's
say,
a,
"Oh yeah, it's a lab mix," it means you're not sure, and it's probably a pit bull.
oh, I thought when you said lab, I thought you meant like a Labrador.
Yeah, but that's what they all. That's the thing. It's like, oh, it's a lab mix. Oh, AKA that means mixed with a pit bull. Okay, some type of pit bull, and you're not really sure what else. All right, we got it from the what do you call it? Humane Society. So yeah.
Oh, which is a good way to get your dog too. 'Cause
Yeah.
otherwise they're about to die.
Yeah. So what are we talking about?
Doesn't matter. Let's get into our topics.
MANetwork.shop. Go check us
That's
out.
what it was.
Also, join us on our MA network, MAI network, /Patreon or patreon.com/MAI network. So check us out on that. All right, we got a couple of different little topics we're going to go, and then really just we're going to kind of freelance it today, man. So I know we haven't had too much of the comments right here, but guys, let us know what you're interested in, what you want to talk about. Let's get into something. Do you want to get into the bigger one? Well, let's get to the bigger ones, and then we can get to the little small ones at the end. So one of the things that we want to do with our show as well is not just we like to educate you guys, also give you guys our opinion on certain things that maybe we've dealt with or things that, just to help you guys out, give you insight. So in our show, we have a lot of parents that listen to our show. We have a lot of karate moms, karate dads. And it's funny how I've never met half of these people. And then at tournaments, they're all saying hi to me and everything. I'm like, oh, hey, how are you doing? All right. But it's cool because they listen to the show. They really like what we say. They sometimes even like listen to the show. I had this, all right. And when they saw that I was sitting down to judge, they were like, they went and told their kid, all right, you got to make sure you do this, this, and this right, because Jeff doesn't like this, Jeff doesn't like that. And it's really funny. Okay. Yeah.
I wonder what they would say about me.
Oh, well.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with you, like I'm thinking of a couple of things. Like if I was to do that and you were judging, and we'll talk about what one of those things would be.
Yeah.
Later on in the show.
Oh, we will.
Like I would like, oh, okay. Hey, make sure you don't do that thing. All right. Make sure if you're going to do it, do it like that. But what would they say if I was judging? I don't know. This guy's about to screw you. I have no idea.
I'm trying to think what it is. I wouldn't really say it's intro. We know with Jeremy Roque, it's like, all right, don't do intros, right? We know with, I don't know. For me, I talk a lot about the foot being bladed and the back knee being bent, and also thumbs being out like this and stuff, and seeing air in hands. I talk a lot about that, and then we'll talk. I guess we're already on it. Jeez.
Well, I mean, we've had judges like that before. Like I remember overhearing and like glancing and kind of seeing like a conversation happen with Charlie Lee. This is decades ago.
Oh yeah.
Talking about with somebody and really concentrating on their rear hand. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, I see your rear hand just be in this general area and not have a specific spot. Like it's an automatic deduction.
Yeah.
And I heard that and was like, oh,
yeah.
Oh shit, don't do this. Don't do that. Scared me into perfection, essentially, which is okay.
And when I sit down, I'm one of those people that just looks at the feet all the time. You know what I mean? And I look at the feet on your heel, if it's coming up, if your toes are moving all over the place, if they're bladed, there's certain people that like literally like their heels off the ground when they do a lot of their strikes or stances. And it's like, especially in traditional, that's not supposed to be a thing,
Yes.
So So that's one of the things I always look for, even, and then also wrists being bent or hands being, relaxed, that kind of thing too much. Right. Because what's happened is that people are so relaxed and then they're like doing this thing to get more snap sometimes with their uniform, or they're smacking their uniform. And that's something that needs to be looked at, because there's a lot of uniform smacking that is making it sound like people are really powerful and they're just smacking their uniform with these $500 uniforms. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. All right, well, let's go ahead and get in this one, because this was kind of one that I was thinking we'd hold to the end, but let's just do it.
Well,
We kind of
so real quick, and we don't have to get into it because you were mentioning like which thing. One thing that I don't know, probably like 20 years ago, and I really kind of figured this out, and I wish I would have figured it out sooner than that, which was to have your strike and your stance synced with one another. Like,
yes.
All right, like, yes, you're throwing a punch, and yes, you have a perfect stance, but they didn't actually hit at the same time. Like your stance landed, then your punch did. They were close, right? Your punch was there, and then you locked your back leg.
Right.
And when I realized, like, and nobody told me this, I just realized it, because for a lot of this, now if you remember, we had Mike Welch on one of the times. The first time, he was like, yeah, I never had a coach. I just had to figure this shit out together. And Mike and I are very similar in that. Like, whatever kind of success, we had, and Mike had way more than me. We just had to figure this shit out, and you go to tournaments.
Right.
And that's literally how you get better, because you don't have somebody next to you telling you that stuff. You're just immersed in high level competition, and you're just going to get better just by osmosis sometimes. But I remember when I figured that out, I'm like, holy crap, this is really hard. This is so hard. And I remember just spending probably like the next 5 hours straight trying to even get through one section of my form where I could have every move synced. And I was just dead exhausted. Like, holy shit, I've been doing it wrong all these years. How am I going to do it now?
Right.
Like one of those epiphany moments. But we'll talk about that later.
No, I mean, honestly, that's a great one, because that's something that bothers me too, especially, I guess for me, it's something that you see more. I mean, you shouldn't see it as much in the black belt division, but you still do. But you see it more in underbelts. And for me, it's like teach them properly from the beginning, like that's what drives me nuts, because there's no power if you do it one way, you do it that way, and you can tell. So yeah, definitely agree. Getting the hands and feet timed the right way, when your punch hits, when your stance hits, all that together, that's a great one to look for.
And then if you have a weapon,
oh yeah, it's got you.
Wow, there's a reason why stuff is so hard.
Yeah.
Right. To do it.
Yeah.
And it's elite level. It's really hard.
Well, and then add kicking in there with that, because again, you do a side kick, you recoil. Now, before you land, you also have to recoil and twist your body into the punch, all at the same time, to hit everything.
Or a weapon strike.
Or a weapon strike.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely like way different than just doing maybe even, I mean, a tornado kick into that is hard, but the chamber isn't as hard as like a side kick, to re-chamber, get your hips back and go into it, So there's so many things that are like that,
Okay, so this is bringing up an idea. This is usually, sorry guys, this is usually a conversation Jeff and I have like before a show. We're literally going to have it during a show, whatever. Here you go. We should really do a breakdown. Like, remember when we did the Rewatchables episode? Remember how fun that was?
Yeah.
All right. What if we did a breakdown of a form? We just did a random form.
Yeah.
And, here's even better. Literally, this is all raw. This is just thoughts coming out. What if one of the insiders sent us
their form. Yeah.
Their form, and we broke it down?
I think we've talked about this before.
Maybe we did. If we did, I forgot. Which is also, here you go, guys. This is raw. This is how conversations go off the pod. So, and then we could really break it down and go, all right, here we go. Because we don't need volume for that, right?
Right.
All right, I almost want to do it right now. But no.
I can't
It'll
do
be
it.
a 4-hour show.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't have any way of doing that. So
Nah, don't worry about it.
but yeah, we'd have to set that up. That would be cool. All right, another thing. Let's just get into a couple of things. So for me, another one that I look at, especially if I'm looking at, let's say, like a Korean form. You know, if I'm judging a lot of Korean forms and stuff, or even mostly that, or even like a musical form, is of course pivoting of the hip, right, with a round kick or a side kick. That's definitely something that I'm going to look at. Are you just placing your foot up there to balance and hold it, or did you do a full out actual kick and then locked it and then came back? Because if you did one correctly and turn your hip over, really you shouldn't be able to hold it that long, because it's just not made to do that and to do full out. You know, if you
It's hard.
huh?
It's really hard.
It's really hard. Yeah, you should. It should be. That's why the goal should be to turn it all the way over fast and boom, and then back.
Make the uniform
Yeah,
explode.
everything.
Hold it for 2 seconds.
So
Pull
yeah,
it back.
so that's a big deal on that one for me. You know, I used to. I mean, I hate saying it now, but I call it like a girl sidekick with the butt sticking out. You know, would be if you would do that wrong. But
What?
yeah,
What'd you
yeah,
say?
I'd say the girl sidekick. When I was younger, I was like, that's a girl sidekick, because literally no female would turn the hip over.
You're saying I got us canceled.
I know. I just did it word. I know. I'm telling you. But literally, there was no female that would turn their hip over in a
No,
sidekick.
there was an extended period of time where we had
Honestly,
very
Jim was
talented
the only
kickers.
one that I could really think of that really did.
I can. I think her name was like
And
Jessica
Jessica
Mellon.
Yeah, those two. Those two were ones that did proper
But
ones.
there was a few,
Yeah.
but like seriously high level ability,
Yep.
martial
just
arts skill.
Small
Just like,
little detail.
please, and the reason why it's aggravating is because you look at them and go, you're too good to do it that way.
Right.
You're too good to make that
Well,
kind of mistake.
And again, but it wasn't a mistake. They chose not to do it correctly
Or
to get more hold.
did they not? Or are we giving them more credit?
What do you
Maybe
mean?
they just
Didn't
don't
know.
know. Think about it. What I just exposed about myself.
Yeah.
I had no freaking clue. You
But
know?
no. I know people do this. Say, well, the reason why I don't turn all the way over is because I can't hold it as long.
Well, now
So
then you're just admitting fault.
right. But I wanted to hold it longer than that. Just like for me, if I want to hold my kick longer, I have to actually bring down some of the power to do that. So it's what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? It's just one of those things, you know. So I just think that so you're focusing on one thing over the other. And the reason why I said it is the female thing, because it was more of a female thing to put your foot up and hold.
And just hold
Guy
it.
thing, it wasn't more of a guy of a
No, you're
Well,
right. I mean, like even one of my great friends, I still think she's one of the greatest kickers of all time. I think she should have been higher on your list, was Jenny Johnson Blanchard. She could do every kick. She did roll it over, but she had a kick in her form.
Yep.
Where she intentionally did not roll it over.
Yep.
And she held it for an ungodly amount of time too.
Right.
Where it was like, oh, you're holding it. Oh, you're still holding it. Oh,
Right.
Okay. This is a completely different experience.
Right.
And then she would, from that point, go on to a kick combo and then lock it out, roll the hip, make it vertical. Okay,
Correct.
now we've seen every kick from you. Yeah.
Correct.
But even she did it intentionally and would say that, outright, yeah, I'm not rolling it over.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are different things. All right. The one thing, though, that I'm sitting there, I'm judging, I'm sitting there like, how much longer are we going to continue to let this happen? All right. And why are we allowing pointed toes in open forms? Like literally, if it was in a traditional division.
Pointed toes on which kick?
Okay. A front kick. Yeah, you're right. Okay. A front kick. And then what turns into a jump front kick. Okay. Honestly, here's the deal. For me, I was okay with the jump front kick because I could honestly, in some ways, make that work. I can make that work where it's like, you know what, this is going to the throat and I'm using my foot as a spear. Okay. But a regular front kick, especially when half of them a lot of the people don't get their regular front kick up above their chest. You know, you hit someone with your toes on the chest, you're done, son. You know, and it's not even your toes; it's actually your ankle, the way it's pointing, and it's going to. I mean, it's going to kind of look like the way when Salif fell, you know, at AKA's that 2 years ago, and his foot looked like it was flexed and it didn't pull back, right? That's kind of what's going to happen. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about, because I've seen them both ways, you know, and yeah, one is the right way, you know, and one is not, you know.
Yeah,
So,
and especially when we're looking at, especially now when we have a lot of traditional people doing musical forms, or we have traditional verse open, and we're looking at things that we know is supposed to be a certain way, and you were trying to compare the two, and you're like,
well, yeah, that's why I'm confused, because you said pointed toes in open forms. How about pointed toes in forms?
well, I don't see that much in that. There is, I
Yeah.
know there is in some of the Shido forms, the Shido forms, there are some pointed toe kicks where they do more of a slap kick that's more of a groin kick. So I understand that, but yeah, I still think, you know, ball of the foot on the front kick. But, you know, if it's a style thing, we're not, I guess, supposed to. That's a weird one for me, right? It's kind of like,
Well,
oh, you can't hate on this style. Okay, well, is it this style, or was it created by some bad
well,
people?
that's the thing, is like, even if you
Bad
go
martial
down to
arts.
like, that's where you got to go. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
You go down to like, well, this is our style. Your style doesn't work that well, right? Don't make, and that's the thing is like, don't make me have to say it, right?
Right.
If your
Right.
argument is, well, this is our style, like, come on, I
Right.
tried to give you the best. I didn't try to go down that road of saying your style was this, your style was that. I didn't bring it up. You brought it up. Don't do it. Don't make me do that. You know what I mean? But
Now,
let's go. I have
Go
this
ahead.
conversation every so often,
Yeah.
and I think it's important. It's kind of important to go back to like, where in the heck did this get popularized?
I mean, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we
It
think
got, and I look at in
Mike
let's
Chat.
look at the 90s, because in the 80s, I don't think that ever happened, right?
Mhm.
Right? In the 90s, little quirks like this, there was a bunch of little ones, right? Even with like hand techniques, you would see different things where you're like, what are you guys doing? You know? That's not the way you do that. That's not the way you do this. All right. But even like with kicking, and I watched John Valera when he would do front kicks, and when he would do jump front kicks, those toes were back, baby.
So
In the
yes
back.
and no, yes and no. So the way we were doing it was on the floor, the ball you're hitting with the ball of the foot. In the air, you can point it to extend, but
I don't
it
remember
wasn't.
seeing him extend them though.
But it was all right. Well, he couldn't point his foot all the way flat like some people could. Okay, but his foot was still like this, but it wasn't like this where you almost like the toes are really full back, but it was more of like almost the whole sole of the foot would be what you would see him hit with, right? So
Okay.
there's kind of that too. Like some people like over flex the toes. I mean, there's pictures right now of someone we love, we think's a great competitor, but the advertisement for the tournament right now, I mean, it looks like all of his toes are tucked or completely curled underneath, you know?
Well, that's the other thing. And I look at, and I'll say it, and I'm not like outing saying they're horrible, because they've obviously accomplished so much more than most anybody in sport martial arts history. But Mike Chat, I believe, I don't know if he was the one, but he was a pretty prominent one that we saw on a lot of displays pointing toes
Right.
on everything.
Here's the deal. When I would do my twist kick, for a while, actually, John had me try pointing my toes on the twist kick to get more length on it and make it look longer. So that was kind of a thing that I think John and Mike were kind of trying to figure out, was because, again, the lines and everything, that wasn't really a thing as much earlier before that, of really trying to figure out, okay, if we're moving faster like this, and we're trying to hit the solar plexus down, that's going to look sloppy, right? So how do we make this still look clean, but with speed? And honestly, those guys were some of the first ones to really do that, because hand techniques weren't like that. There wasn't these big, long hand combinations.
And Carmichael too. Carmichael
as well. Yeah. I mean, Carmichael and I had a conversation about a month ago, and he's just saying he still thinks to this day that John Valerius ridge hand chop punch is the best ever to do that because it was just so clean and snappy. You know what I mean? And
I don't know. I think Jimmy's was better.
Jimmy's was good, but it's a little sloppy at times. But I know what you mean. But yeah, I mean, but no. But I'm talking about from the legend form. See, from like the 90s, from 1990 is what I'm talking about. Not from John's like 99 or adult years. So, but anyways, because he didn't really do that during then. But so again, I think a lot of this stuff kind of came out of what's going to look better, what's going to extend more, what's going to, so I understand the point of that. And I guess everyone was trying to toe that line of, what is going to work and what isn't, right? But I feel like now we're at this point where we gotta like focus more on like pulling the toes back, like really hitting with a ball of the foot,
So this is, I think you're right.
Practicality
I think it's to the point where it's like, all right, guys, enough is enough. It wasn't a good idea then, but it was something that some people toyed around with to try to see if it could look creative, if it could look cool. It wasn't.
Right.
Just because he did it and he won, just because he did it and he won, doesn't mean we need to keep doing it. It's still not right.
So what do we think though about, so on that other end, I mean,
how does it change?
Well, there's that. I think judges need to start deducting for it.
I don't think that's the way it changes.
But, it does. But,
like, I'll explain. Okay.
I was going to go another thing though.
I don't think that's the way it changes. I think it changes because if a fellow competitor sees you do that and you did that, you would feel so personally embarrassed that you did it. I think that's the only way we get to it. All right, here's an example. Here's a perfect example.
Shame them for it.
When was think of the last time you watched a basketball game, either on TV or in person, of any level. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
How many bank shots did you see? Like none.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they did, they would be laughed off the court. They'd be laughed. Like, they would literally look at them like, you're coming out here with this?
So
you get some of the best competitors in the world. You're doing this?
What happened with GoPie Show. That's why we don't see GoPie Show anymore.
Because
kind of like people would like, oh, dude, you can't do that no more.
Right, because you would be embarrassed. Because like 2, 3, 4, 5 moves in, you would be embarrassed. That's the only way it changes.
It's kind of like sequence uniforms, because that was
I think those should come back.
Where everyone did that. Then all of a sudden, 2000 and 2001, we kind of were all like, nah, bro, this is a new NBL. We don't do this. And everyone kind of stopped doing that. It was actually true. And I kind of feel bad because we probably made fun of people as teenagers.
Then now, don't you think it should come back a little bit?
I think I think there needs to be some change, because everyone looks the same. They wear the same uniform.
So
they look at it. But at the same time, on the other end, on the NBL side, it was too much where everyone was doing that. Where actually wearing a black uniform, an all black uniform, or just a regular, or even like an all white uniform was different. Was different because everybody did it and took it too much. Like, now some of them were cool, some of them were extreme. Like my buddy Chris Gallio, he had one that was actually crushed up mirror, and the freaking uniform was like 40 pounds, and he's like 12 years old.
Wait.
Yeah, like it was like
he had crushed,
slashed or mirror or something. It was like a mirror uniform.
Cut himself?
I don't know how he did it, bro. Like he was explaining us to this at Bear's wedding, and I was like, bro, how in the world you do that? I don't know, man. That thing was heavy as crap.
He put like cling wrap over it so that
Yeah.
he didn't like
Yeah, I
cut
think
himself.
so. I don't even know how it all worked. I never wore one, so I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
But I mean, I think we need like it's a lot like styles and fashion, man.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
whatever's in style now, in a few years is going to be out of style.
Yep.
And then stuff will be back in. Just give it like 20 years. Stuff will be back in style. You know, maybe 30.
Yeah. Like I say, to me, I like a different, like a multicolored uniform for forms would be cool. Like the old JPM ones where they had the white and black, and or the Metro ones where they had the red, white, and blue ones, or the red, white, and black. That was cool, you know. But yeah, he's saying, Brett's saying, please don't bring back sequence. I agree.
I think you should. I think it would be cool.
That is true. That's some picking sequence off of your feet before you enter the ring. Yeah, that's true though. That was a thing.
But maybe not sequence, but maybe like, all right, let's think about it like this. Junri, bro, I wore a satin uniform, a gold satin uniform. Now, people want to talk traditional. You don't get a lot more traditional than him. He was the man to bring Taekwondo to America.
Right. But he also was not very traditional compared to everyone else. He looked a whole nother way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. He was the guy. So in a sense, whatever he says is the way. Right? So if you want to go like, no, this is really the way it was done, there's nobody before him here.
I don't know about that. There was other
came here before him.
There were other Korean martial artists. But they just didn't do what he brought it to his own he brought his own flavor to the style.
Correct.
Yeah, so I don't know. He wasn't like, I don't know. I don't want to get onto that.
We don't need to.
Because again, I mean, he has his own made up forms and stuff, musical forms. He took it to a whole nother level. He really untraditionalized Taekwondo more than anyone.
Well, maybe I am towing that line a little too much.
Yeah.
So if we do look at that, like, I mean, that's what I kind of brought up. The guy wore a gold satin uniform.
Right.
That would look cool. Right?
Maybe.
The question is, who's got the guts to wear it?
I think
if we're talking about different color uniforms, I can see next level competitors wearing like a red satin uniform. I could see that. That would actually look pretty cool. Imagine if you saw.
But people were fighting in those for a long time. You know what I mean? Some still are. So
sure, yeah. But imagine seeing Shaquan in a red sleeveless satin uniform. It's just going to be his pants eventually anyway. The guy's going to take his top off anyway and see his 2% body fat. You know what I mean?
True.
But that would be kind of cool, man.
It's true. All right. So let's get, this podcast has been awesome because we kind of have gone everywhere, every which way. But
you know what? Speaking of him taking his top off, that would be an excellent way to get the #1 sponsorship. Imagine he gets Gatorade right there on the chest. That dude rips it off. Goes out there, does his form, goes viral again for something, you know.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool.
It's yeah.
There you go, Shaquan. There's your next marketing idea. Reach out to Red Bull.
All right. This was what we were going to lead with, but you know. All right. What were things that you wanted as a team? So kind of where I was getting into was parents. We have a lot of parents that listen to our show, so we were wanting to kind of present some things that are valuable. What were some things that you should look for? What are some things you want in a team? Let's just kind of give some ideas. So that way, not meaning, hey, guys, you have to do it just like this.
Yeah.
But give maybe.
Not every team is for everyone.
Yeah, everyone's a little different.
Not every situation is
for me, this is what I'm going to talk about. When I looked at my first team, there were only a few teams when I was coming up, right? There was one humongous team, and it was Metro. And everyone kind of wanted to be on it because they're like, dude, they're getting sponsorship. This is going to be a great way. They hung out as a team. They looked like a unit. They
It
all
meant
wore
you were
cool
one of the
stuff.
best competitors.
It
you
meant
were
that
on
you
it.
were one of the best competitors, or you were training with the best competitors. You were kind of in that realm, right?
Right.
For me, though, I was, there were other people that were in my division beside, like my division was when I was 10 it was Jennifer Santiago and myself. They were number 1 and number 2. So I was, in there with Hector's daughter. Then you had Calvin Choka and Ryan Pinkston. I'm sorry, not Ryan Pinkston, my bad. Ryan, why am I forgetting his last name? Sorry, Ryan Gregory. There we go. Ryan Gregory and Spencer Gregory. Okay. So I had those guys. Ebony Adams was also in there too. Guy Burkett and
There's a lot of heavy hitters.
let's see, Ashley
Bernadette?
Lane and Ashley Lane. So all of us were in there, and I'm sure I'm missing someone else. In fighting, it was like Amir Hoskins and a lot of these guys. But anyway, so 6 of those people were on Metro, right? Butch was also in my weapons division. Butch Marks was in my weapons division. So
What about Bernadette Ambrosia?
she's a lot older. She was like
4
4
okay.
years older than me. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're just seeing like all these different people that are there, right? And it's kind of like, all right, I'm not getting on the team because I'm the one person that's beating Jennifer. It's not going to happen, So
Yeah.
that was just kind of the way I was thinking. It's like, whatever. But for me, it was things that we looked at were like that camaraderie, the teamwork, the people really enjoy it, are people enjoying it? You hear things here and there about, there's all this hazing and stuff going on. That was kind of a thing that we heard as kids. It was just the teenagers messing around with the, teenagers.
There are some teams that are legit.
There's
some teams that
like
do that.
though, yeah. But that was a legit thing. It was just kind of fun. It's like, wait a minute. Wait, what's going on here? This isn't a thing you have to do to be on the team. The adults wouldn't do that no. It was the other young teenagers like messing around, or young kids messing around with the other ones. So that was one thing there, right? As far as looking on to another thing is like, does the reputation of that team help you or hurt you? That's one thing, right? Are the coaches there?
Matt Emig, if you guys want to go back and listen to a phenomenal show, listen to the Matt Emig show. And he talked about how he couldn't wait to be on JPM when he got the call. And then he realized when he got on JPM, he was looked at a different way.
Yeah.
And just go back, go into the archives, check out the show. Continue, Jeff. I'm sorry.
That was a good one. But as far as coaching, do you mesh well with the coaching staff? But I think a lot of times when people forget, it's not just the coaching staff. Who is managing and running the team? I think that's something we forget about big time, right? What's the organization of the team like? If you are a parent that's looking for something for your junior, I think you really need to look at that. But for a junior, I think the coaches is probably more important. For an adult, it's more about the management and the sponsorship and the coach. Those 3 are kind of the key. But like, how do they all work together? Are the coach and the manager not getting along? Or, is the team sponsoring them just kind of not working together? Does it seem kind of odd? That's probably not the place you want to be, right? What's the organization like? Are they waiting to the last minute to pay for everything? Or they're just saying, hey, show up and we'll figure it out? There's a lot of things like that you need to kind of figure out. Unfortunately, you don't know until you kind of get on there to see, right? So
you never know until
you never know. And
even if everybody tells you, and then they tell you, and it's out there, when you're finally in it, it's like buying a car.
Right.
You read all the reviews. You know all the specs. But when you get in the car, and it drives a little different, because not every car is the same.
No.
It's the exact same thing, man.
No. So that's kind of why we were saying, what do you look for in a team? What's maybe a couple things that you would look for, Alex?
Here's what I would say personally. I'm probably not the best one to ask if you are strictly a forms competitor? Because I really would not know, because I've never been in that position before, right? I've never been in that position before. And every situation with every team is so different in that scenario that I just don't know enough, right? What I will say is, regardless of whether you're strictly a forms competitor or you're strictly a fighter or you do both, is first identify what it is that you want to do. What is it that I want to do?
Right.
And because we've had students, right? And they were like, hey, I want to get on this team, right? And the best thing to do is to ask them why, right? Because so often kids will do this and their goal is to get on the team.
And then what?
First, win second. And you're like, that doesn't make sense.
No.
It's a martial arts competition team, but then at the same time, maybe that's not what it is for them. Maybe that's not what it is. Maybe they just find themselves very talented at this activity. But for them, really, they don't care. It's just about this team camaraderie for them.
Yeah.
And that's what it is for them.
Yeah. And then maybe eventually they'll get to where they want to go. But, if they don't, that's fine.
I've said this so many times. And I said this to you earlier in the show about something else. People need to be comfortable in their own skin.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Exactly.
Just wherever you're at, man, just embrace it. Just embrace wherever you're at. Sometimes you suck.
Right.
Embrace the suck.
Well, what's funny is that I always say is like, I've never been on a forms team.
That's
that's so
strange.
I've always been the forms competitor, or maybe one or two forms competitor on a fighting team. So
you've had some opportunities to be on forms.
But in a lot of ways, that's good because I knew that I had my role. I knew my role was like, it wasn't like, or that in some ways I was kind of like, all right, we're a forms guy. We're going to push you as our forms guy. We're going to come early in the morning and cheer you on. That was a cool thing for me. Right. But I do forget, I actually was on a forms team. There was no sponsorship or anything. I think I got a warm up there. I didn't even have a uniform, but we were called Team Freestyle. And it was like 1990, the end of 95 into the beginning of 96. And it was literally the beginning of Pro Rank, actually, if you think about it, because it was Mike Kelly, and he was trying to come up with something. And it was like, okay, well, let's put some of these forms. Let's just put some of these guys together and see what happens. So it was like me, Mindy Kelly, and I think Mark Odell was on there. So we were like the juniors, right? And then, which is funny because Mark and I didn't really even talk that much because we were like fierce competitors. and then the form side was like Kingston Ing, Daniel Spalding, and I don't know if Jeff Durbin was on there or not, but it was kind of like
those three were like
none of us had
together.
Well, we didn't have any like uniform. We would just say freestyle, but it was kind of like, it wasn't really a team. You know what I mean? It wasn't really that.
We had a band of misfits.
Yeah, we were just kind of like, okay. So it was kind of an interesting thing, about that, right? It was just like, okay, so I wouldn't really say that's a team. When I got in some ways it could be considered that. When I got the opportunity to join Team Elite, that was a brand new thing. That was where it was like, okay, this is organized. We're all going together as this. We're getting, I know it seems weird, but especially in these days and age, gear, T-shirts, hoodies, that kind of stuff is important, I feel like, to the vibe of a team. I would not have thought that years ago. Honestly, to me, years ago, I wouldn't have really thought that. But I think in this culture right now, I think it is. Uniformity is a big deal.
It is, but at the same time,
you know what you're getting,
I remember, I'll never forget this. And I said this to a team that asked me at the time. And because I wasn't really a champion, I would win my division every so often. And that was kind of what I was at that time. And then they would say to me, and because I did both forms and fighting, right? And I really didn't win my division of forms very much at all, but I was kind of there, you know. And they were like, and he said to me, he goes, you know, I'll give you uniforms and gear. And my immediate response was, I have a uniform.
Yeah.
I already have gear.
Right.
You're not giving me something I don't already have.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make that never made sense to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
you're actually giving me an obligation for
True.
nothing,
True.
like
True.
with nothing in, like, why am I, why? Right. So, but let's just say this, okay? We're rambling on rambling, but let's just wait this. When I said, let's identify what it is that you want. And I think if you talk to the competitor and be like, hey, do you really want to win? Yes. Okay. And you actually desire to want to be on a team, and maybe just kind of deciphering this, maybe you'll realize about yourself, I don't want to be on a team.
Right.
Because being on a team really is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
It's definitely
So
true.
maybe if you find out, like, oh no, this team, like, they're a little demanding, like they want to be around, they want me around all the time. So, like, look at Katie Smith is typing in family, right?
Yep.
Well, what happens if the people that you're with, that you usually travel with, that are from your karate school, that you train with all the time,
Yep.
right? And now all of a sudden you go on this team and it's like,
hey, we can't hang out with you. Yeah.
You're like never around because I'm on this team, and this is my team, and this is now my new family because they gave me a uniform, right? That doesn't make any sense, right?
Right.
So, and you want to be with people that are cool with you being with other people, as long as you're not a jerk, right? I look at what Richard Plowden's approach to his people, and I don't know this personally, but I hang around him a lot. I think he's a fantastic person to hang around, right? And I learn more about martial arts in life every single time I'm around him, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't think he puts any kind of like, hey, this is what we do, right, on any of his people. But they're always around him.
Right.
They're always around him.
Yeah.
Because they want to be around him, and he's infectious, and he's a fun, fantastic personality. But other teams are not like that. So then you're like, well, I don't want this part-time job. You know,
right.
I just took time off of work so I could be here, so I could do my fun hobby.
Exactly.
I didn't want to take time off of work to go do a part-time job in which I have to pay to do. It doesn't make sense, right?
No.
Now, let's say this team, right, gives you an opportunity to go to tournaments that you're like, I mean, all right, I wasn't planning on going to that, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you don't have the time. Maybe now you're an adult, okay? And you're like, listen, my work only gives me so much time that I can be away. So I am already planning on being at AKA, Battle of Atlanta, Ocean State, US Open, and the Diamonds.
Yep.
That's all I can fit in. I can't fit in anything else.
Exactly.
And if the team goes, well, good news, I will sponsor the Battle of Atlanta, the US Open, and the Diamonds. And you go, well, this is a great partnership.
Exactly.
Because I was planning on going there. This works out. It has to fit for everybody. You have to figure out what works for you. Listen.
And go ahead, Alex. I want to point one.
I'm going to say one thing, and this is inside scoop right here. This is what's happening. Remember when we had Greg on the show, Greg Betlock?
Yeah.
We didn't share this part, okay? Greg called me one day. This is when he's on JPM, okay? And
yeah.
I told you this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to say it on the show.
Oh.
He calls me and he goes, dude, F this. I'm getting off the team, right? Because they didn't have him fighting in team fights, right? He was the guy who was making it the furthest in the finals. It was him and it was Alex Lane, right? And there was a couple of finals where it was the two of them against each other. But they never fought Greg in team fights, to the point where one time, it was like in a whole year where Greg didn't fight in team fights at all. Where it was like, I remember watching them take the photo, just cracking up laughing, looking at it. And I think they won team fights, or I think they took the runner up to All-Star, right? And everyone's in their fighting stance smiling, and there's just Greg with this massive mean mug, right? I'm watching it just cracking up. I'm like, dude, why you look like such a jerk? And he goes, I hope you look at the picture and realize. And he's like, dude, I'm just going to leave the freaking team. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense, G. That's why I always call him G. I call him G Money, right? I'm like, G, it don't make no sense. Why you want to do that? And he goes, dude, I want to be around people who want me around. And I'm like, when you're around the tournament, aren't I around all the time anyway?
Right.
And he's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, so if you weren't on that team, what team would you be on? You'd be hanging out with me, right? I'm like, I'm already hanging out with you. And if you could pick anybody you'd want to fight with, wouldn't you want to fight with Elias and Alex? And he's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, so do you have a better chance to fight with them when you leave the team, or worse?
Right.
I was like, and let's just be honest. You're not going to pay yourself to go to Austria and Ireland.
No, exactly.
Not anymore, you're not. Now that you've got a taste of sponsorship, you're not going to.
Correct.
So what the frick are you leaving for? Just keep winning and just keep going.
And then
it'll work itself out. It'll work itself out.
Yeah, true.
So
no, that's definitely
but that's also a great example. Listen, it's not always going to be rainbows and unicorns, right?
No.
And for a long period of time, look at what I just laid out. Greg was one of the top performers for the men's fighters on that team at the time, right? And even he was like, F this, I want to bolt for a moment, right? Sometimes we all need that voice of reason, right? Yeah. So when I join this team, that's going to be awesome. It will not always be awesome.
No.
It's like when Katie said, it's a family. You know what I learned about family? A lot of family members hate each other.
Definitely. Well, no, and that's a good point. I think one of the things too that we got to figure out, and I think teams need to do this better, and I think even competitors need to go in, especially top competitors or even ones that will have a goal of being the best. What are the team, and it's not just, hey, you want to join my team? I think it'll work out, or we want you on our team. Okay, well, are you gonna help that competitor reach their goals? You know what I mean? And honestly, that competitor should think, being on this team, is this going to get me to where I want to be? Is this going to get me around the people that are going to help me move up, right? And honestly, I know for me, at certain things, it's like, I want to be around people with that same attitude that I had. I want to be around killers that want to win. You know what I mean? Like, you look at, like right now, let's just look at the three, Dawson, Ben, and Esteban. Those three are three killers that want to win the Grand every time, and they're going to just keep pushing each other to that. You even look at Mike, Chat, and John when they're all on JPN.
Mike, Chat, John, and Carmichael, all three.
That's what I meant. Yeah, sorry. Chat, Carmichael, and John, those guys. And then you also had Richard Brandon pushing them as well.
Right.
So,
he's the other forgotten one that was also winning Grands.
Right. So, I mean, it's just kind of crazy, that. And then you have the other end where people are like, well, why did they pick up this person when I'm that person, on the team? Which I remember, when Daniel Sterling and Steve Tirada and Nick Begley and all those guys are all on the same team. And you already had Steve, but you chose to pick Nick up as well.
Yeah.
And then Butch, you had all these guys, and it was like, well, why are you doing this? Well, because they all should make each other better and go up, right? And that's really the way it should be. But sometimes some people don't think of it that way, right? They want to be that one person. In a lot of people's minds, kind of like what you're saying, well, Jeff, at least you're the forms guy on that team, and there's not 4 other people on your team in your same division. And I never really understood, I never really got like, okay, I get it. But
yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good, so it really depends on how you handle that. Do you handle that pressure? Do you handle that pressure in a way that motivates you to get you better? And, I think those guys are great teammates, but they don't hold back. They're going in there trying to kill it. And, very similar to that, like the JPM days from the 2000s and then the CJB days in the 2000s. Yes, all those are amazing killers, but they're also all want to win the overall grand at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like Damon is going to late hit Jason. He's going to late hit Trevor. He's going to get to do that to win. Trevor is going to axe kick those guys, you know what I mean? And drive, like it's what's going to happen. Raymond is going to win, Jody wants to win, So I think
here's a great example of that. Like if you think like if there's ever two people who should be the best of friends, and you think, man, they'll probably, it'll be a little lighter at times. You would think Ray and Jack.
Right.
No. Go watch some videos.
Go watch them fight. Yeah.
Go watch some tape.
Right. They go edit, man. And so I think that's the thing is like creating that family, but like, iron sharpens iron, man, and I think there's some people that do great in that environment and some that need that everyone pushing you up towards that. So you really got to look in the mirror before you join a team and say, what is it I need? What is it I want? And is this a fit for me? Or am I just looking at, oh, this is the fancy name that I want to be a part of? That's not that I've seen those situations and it hasn't always worked out for everyone. I mean, not everyone that's joined JPM has gone to do great things once they joined. Not everyone that's joined CJB did, or AKA, or many of those different, high level teams. So I just think you really got to look at seeing what you want. Sometimes, especially when you get into older, more of as a veteran into the sport, like, okay, is this going to be a good fit for me? So that way, maybe I could take on a coaching role, or maybe I could take on, a leadership role, or, maybe I can help get students onto this team. There's things like that kind of come and happen. And so you really got to, like anything, like reflect, right? Write down.
I got a question. What's a team? And you don't even have to have had like an offer or a conversation about it. I know that you've had a lot of conversations about different teams that you haven't been on, but what's a team that you look back on and go, I think it would have been cool to be on that team?
So fun. I don't know if honestly, at this time in my life, that time in my life, it probably would not have been good for me to be on. Would have been GOP. GOP was a team that had, they were flying people everywhere. Okay. They had oil money. Okay. Like this was the team where you were like, all right, I want to keep doing this. I want to get paid. I want to go everywhere. Yeah. This is great. This is that,
they had cool people on the team.
Yeah. And a lot of them were some of my best friends. So it's like, yeah, I think I would have fit in there, but honestly, knowing all the crazy stuff, it probably would have been even worse for me. Okay. But, so that would probably have been one.
I remember looking at that team thinking like, man, these guys are just like the cool people.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, shit, man, I'm not that cool. And then there was one, I think there was one Battle of Atlanta. Jason Holmes and I were in the same division. And I took runner up to Elias, and I was so pissed about it. I was so upset. And he came to me, he's like, man, I wanted it to be you and me, man. You're the cool kicker in this division, man. I wanted it to be like you. And then him giving me that kind of praise, I was like, holy crap. You think like you're the cool team. Like, oh, damn. I didn't really know you knew I existed. Right. But what's another one?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess, you would say as a junior, probably like Metro, right? Like that was just the cool team to be on. There was a team, and for me, I look at, because there was more teams actually in the NBL in the 90s than in NASCA, because there was really only JPM and Metro. But there was teams like Karate International, which Karate International, I don't know if you remember, there was a magazine called Karate International. It was Michael D. Pasquale's, right? Junior. And so he had his own team. And that was kind of a cool team because they had these crazy uniforms. Rory Bratter was on it. A lot of these different guys that were just just honestly, a lot of them are in movies now, like Ron Searles and stuff. So that was just kind of a team that I kind of thought was kind of cool. Actually, you know what? I'm trying to. Carl Kanai, Team Kanai. That would have been the one. Yeah, I don't know why I would. Yeah, Carl Kanai. There you go.
Dude, call the
They-
Team Kanai
Yeah.
reminds me of the And One mixtape. And the reason
Yes.
why,
Yes.
the reason why they remind me of the And One mixtape. Number one, their uniforms were a designer.
Right.
It's Kanai, right?
Yeah.
It was a literal designer, right?
Crazy.
It's so cool. And let's think of the guys who were on the team. They were at the time literally the coolest of the cool, right?
Yep.
And they were like just barely adults, probably junior.
Yeah.
Right?
Jason, Regina, Raymond, J Dog was a junior. Jason Holmes was a junior on the team. Okay. Omar Guerrero, who was an amazing forms competitor, and he was actually like the coach kind of that team for fighting. You have Ryan Huntley, who was
that's right.
Yeah, Ryan Huntley. You have what was the?
But look at what you said already.
There were so many. Yeah.
And then what are we talking about? We're talking about 1997, 1998.
Time out. Butch Togasala, Marcus Young, all these guys. I mean,
but isn't that the time frame that we're talking about?
97, 98, yeah, 97, 98,
like
and pretty much were done by the middle of 99.
Yeah,
they became Team Outlaw in 99 because they lost the spot.
It was a badass team.
Yeah.
Right? It was like,
Brian
you guys
Schwartz.
are the cool team. You guys are the freaking cool team.
Yeah.
I think for me, it would have been the second coming of CJB because I would never have been on the first CJB. That would have never happened.
You mean the one that I was on? So the second one that I wasn't on, like 2005, 2006?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I would have never been on the first one. There would have been
Right.
no reason. They would have been,
Right.
I would have been on the team to go get them water, right? Because like even on that one, like, I won a couple divisions, fought Jason for like the weight grand, and then Jason like ran through me, right? There was no reason for me. But the second one, I really wanted to. I remember towards the ends of the year, I probably said this on the show before, but Conroy comes up to me and I always thought Conroy was just a freaking shit, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that guy's a freaking bomb ass coach. I called him coach. He wasn't my coach. I just called him coach. Anytime I talk to him, still call him coach. He knows that.
Right.
And he stopped me one time after a term. I was just like, walking by a ballroom, and he goes, Alex Dingman. Because I don't know why, he always calls me by my first and last name all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, man, you're a good fighter. You are talented. And I'm like, holy shit. You really think so? I'm like, coach, you think so? And he goes, I'll tell you right now, Alex Dingman, if I had a spot on my team, you'd be on my team today. Blew my world. Couldn't believe it. Right. Situations changed. The next year, I did like 2 tournaments. Right. So it sucked. Right. Dropped a bomb because I probably could have had an opportunity. So that's one. Yeah. But really, here's the one that was like, you want to talk about a cool team, was the straight up teams. And I probably would have never fought teams, right? Because the straight up years, the rec suit straight up years.
Right. Yeah.
When with the Jotty, the Jason, the Ray, those years, right?
That was the year where that was right after CJB, and that was kind of where a lot of people thought I was going to go. And honestly, like
I
didn't go anywhere. I was just kind of like, and honestly, I never really had that conversation, with Joe about it. We just never.
I had a conversation. I'll forget this. I'll listen to this. This is a crazy story. Listen to this one. Okay. It's the Battle of Atlanta 05. Okay. Which was kind of a shitty tournament, but the finals were amazing. The finals made the tournament look like it was the best tournament of the year, but it was kind of like a crappy run tournament. So the eliminations are done, right? And Larry Carnahan gets on the mic, I promise this is the truth, and goes, hey, if anybody would like to compete for a super fight championship in the finals with the grand prize of $2,500. Come to the microphone right now. And a bunch of us were just kind of standing around, like Chris Walker was one of them. We're all just kind of like standing around, like Hamid Feruzzi, like Joey Greenhaw. We're just like standing around, like, did you guys just hear what I just heard? And then he says it again, and we're like, looks like we're in the finals. So it was a 16-man super fight. Like you.
Yeah.
Gerald Dawson was in it, right?
Yeah.
That one was super cool. So before that moment, Greg and I were like, oh, man, we kind of each of us kind of got a raw deal in a couple of moments in the tournament, right? We're like, man, why are we doing this shit? Putting our money out here, just getting screwed. Like, shit, man, this is what we're feeling like. And Joe Greenhaw comes up and sees us and is like, why don't you guys come fight for our team? And we're like, nah, whatever. And he goes, what do you want? And he goes, and we go, what do you got? Anything. And he goes, be on our team right now. And we looked at each other like, are you serious? And now Jody Tension was on the team.
Yeah.
So at that tournament, it was Jody, Joey Greenhaw, and I don't even know who else fought, right? I don't even think they fought teams, right? And we're like, are you for real? And he goes, talk to me later. Well, later, Greg has the fight of the freaking year, right?
Yeah, with
the
Jason.
fight of the life with Jason Borelli in the finals, right?
Yeah.
He's beating Jason Borelli 4-2. You got to win by 2. Jason Borelli skips side, kicks him in the chest, knocks him down and out to tie it. And they just went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for like, I think the total running time was 11 and a half minutes, right?
That's insane.
And obviously, as one would predict, Jason wins. And then before Greg even walks off the stage, JPM is like, you're on the team.
Yeah.
Right? Not even kidding you. Right? So it's like, well, here goes that. Because I don't think Joe really wanted me. I think he wanted me as like a +1.
Right.
I was going to be Greg's +1.
That's funny. His +1.
Like it's a wedding date or something.
Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious.
Uh,
One more team though that I thought was cool, but I had no chance because I looked the way I do, and it was called Kojito. All right, and Kojito was like,
what is this thing?
Kojito was Hiro Koda, Mike Chat, Jimmy Pham, and John Valera, and this was 1995, and it lasted for like 6 months, and the guy was paying for everything. And he was some big Asian guy that has a lot of money. And
wasn't Mike on JPM at that moment?
He was as well, but he was getting paid for the tournaments by this guy that JPM wasn't paying for.
Oh, so there was JPM tournaments.
Yeah.
And then in tournament XYZ.
But he was still paying for him, but Mike was still wearing Paul Mitchell. This is what was crazy, all right? It was just like, and then, yeah, and same thing with Jimmy. Jimmy was on Metro.
Yeah, I remember Jimmy was a late addition to JPM.
Yeah,
he rode Metro out.
Yeah. So it was just a weird thing, right? It was like, okay, so John and Hiro, and Ramir Mosqueda was also one of those guys too, and he was more of an NBL guy. And he was also in another team on NBL as well. I think he was on like Full Contact or something. So it's like he's just giving. John was actually the only one that actually had like the Kojito sign on his uniform, and they were paying for it. It was really just a weird thing. And then you hear like, okay, what happened? I don't know. He just disappeared. His apartment was empty. Like this is some of the stories I remember, but. Being on not necessarily for that situation what I want to be on, but just being on a team with those guys would be cool, right? But again, the sponsor only wanted to take care of like Asian competitors, so I wouldn't have had a chance.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah. So yeah.
Dude, that reminds me of like some like Conroy story. What was it? Was it like Trade Winds?
Yeah, Trade Winds was a crazy one.
When he had like they had like I'm not going to get into this whole story, but I'll give you the Alex Cliff Notes version, which wasn't. It was like a big hotel, right? It was a big hotel chain,
Yeah.
and it had an opportunity. There was somebody to sponsor the whole thing, a big, huge team. Mike Conroy, we want you to be the coach. And it turns out, and it's just like this guy owns, is part owner in Tradewinds, but it turns out the guy's like a janitor
Yeah.
in one of the hotels on the third shift. And there was really no money at all. Man, that's a great one.
That's the best. Oh
we should,
man.
we should just bring Conroy in for like a
Yeah.
monthly story session.
Monthly story session. Yeah, definitely good. Oh man. All right. This has been a fun one. I hope you guys enjoy it
great.
Thursday this morning because definitely this is definitely a fun pod to listen
You want
to.
to giggle? This is it.
Yeah. Parents, again, if you guys got more questions about this type of stuff, always message us, ask us, come on the show, comment, write some things, ask some things. You know, we want to give back by this show, you know, not just tell you what all is going on in the world of sport karate, but also help you with, you know, things that maybe we can share from our careers that will help you. So I know I have a lot more stuff that I probably have not even thought about. Maybe I need to write a book or something. I don't know, but
you know what I want to close and like kind of wrap up when we were talking about like, hey, you know, what team would you have been on? I look at the teams today.
mm-hmm.
They're in a good position.
Yeah.
I think each team is in a pretty good position. And what I mean by that is,
are we talking about men's teams, men's fighting teams?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
If you look at like, hey, do they have a good direction? Yes. Do they have good leadership? Yes. Do they have good pedigree? Yes. Are they producing their own top talent? Yes, most of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so you look at that and go, I think if you were to be asked to be on a team, I mean, you definitely want to connect with your people that you trust and be like, whoever that person is or people are. Mm-hmm. Like Jeff said, hey, we're open books, right?
Right.
But I think each team's got a pretty good position. So
here's one thing. Do you think, because the Sport Karate Memes guy, he was saying that he thought, and he didn't really say this, but the way he was saying was like, he thinks that like forms people should stay on forms teams and fighters should stay on fighter teams. What do you think about that?
No, but I'm saying no, but I've also never been that fighting guy. So I could see, I can see where he's coming with that, with the, because there's two different worlds.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
So maybe there's some truth to that, because like, okay, like remember when Akin was on and he said he hated you because he always had to get up early to go watch you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if that's your rule as a team,
right,
that would be freaking annoying. But then at the same time, and you know what's weird? You never see it the other way around. Nobody ever makes the forms guys stick around and watch the fighters.
Oh yeah, we had to. Yeah, I would get fined if I wasn't there.
Because you were on a fighting team.
Yeah.
But none of the other ones. Right? Whatever.
Well, yeah, because they were on forms teams. So yeah. But I mean, all my friends on JPM, like Butch, same thing. They had to stay and watch the fighters and cheer them on. So JPM and us were similar on that way. You know, it's just the forms was a little different caliber.
True.
So, all right, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yep. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Dawes. See you guys next week. We got a couple of new guests coming up. So get ready.